friends, Shay here. So today I am here to give you some manga, graphic novel, webtoon, paranormal romance related recommendations. I'm doing this a little bit because of Love in the Night that's coming up. I have an announcement video. I will leave that linked in the corner for you. But it's also because we're entering fall and spooky season, and I feel like people are trying to seek out these kinds of stories a little bit more. And so I thought it would be the perfect time to put up a recommendation list for you. I haven't done a recommendation list quite like this in a while, so I'm very, very excited. So first up, let's start with the few webtoons I'm going to mention. These are all found on the Webtoon app, by the way, not any of the others. So this should be free for the most part to read. And all three of these are also complete, so I didn't put any ongoing series on this list. So the first one I have here is Siren's Lament. This is one of my all-time favorite webtoons I've ever read. This is about the tragedy of what it means to become a siren. And this is very deep, very political. There's a lot going on here, but there is a love triangle at the center of it. It is very fun. I really love it. And I would highly recommend checking this one out if you haven't. It is truly a gem. Quite enjoy it. The next one I have here, well, the next two are by the same creator. So the first one is Days of Hannah. This is a werewolf romance in which we're dealing with, wares essentially being slaves. So there's a lot of really deep conversations going on within it, a lot of racism. So there's a lot going on here and a lot to unpack. But I do think it is a really solid story, a really solid romance, and I highly recommend checking it out. In a similar vein, we have Orange Marmalade, where this is a vampire story. This one deals a little more in the bullying territory, but again, still a very, very good series. And again, a great paranormal romance. All three of these are complete, so definitely give each of them a try and see if you like them, because what's it going to hurt to try them, right? Next up, I have two graphic novels I'm going to recommend. One is not really a paranormal romance, but it is paranormal spooky season adjacent, so I'm going to go ahead and recommend it, and that is Hooky. This is a middle grade graphic novel series that I think is absolutely fantastic. It's got 3 physical volumes out. I do believe this also started on Webtoon, which is why I put it here, and I think you could definitely get a lot of joy out of it, so I definitely recommend checking it out. The other one I'm going to mention here is Crumbs. This one is by Danny Sterling. This is really, really sweet. It's about like a baker and a witch, and it's just their adorable love story. Again, really sweet, really cute. There's a lot of queer talk, I guess you could say. It's about people figuring out their queerness and what that means for their future relationships, and it's really sweet. I really like how this one plays out. They do spend some time together apart towards the end, so there is kind of a third act breakup, you could say, but I think it's for the good so that they can figure out what they need and what they want out of life. So again, another series that is very well handled, and I really, really enjoyed it. So with that, we're now going to move on to the manga. So I do have some that I don't physically own copies of at the moment that I do intend to still recommend. So the first one on this list that I don't physically own is Vampire Blood Drive. This is one that I borrowed from Maeve over at Maeve Ever Reading, and this is a single contained story in 1 volume. And it's about this girl figuring out there's vampires in the world, and there's another girl that loves her blood, and it's their love story. It's really sweet and really cute. It is fairly smutty, so if you don't like high steam, this won't be for you. But again, highly recommend the series. You can only get it on their website as far as I could tell, so I will leave a link to where you can find it down below. The next one here is one of those Kodansha titles that's stuck in digital jail, and that is A Kiss with a Cat. This is kind of Fruits Basket adjacent, which you'll see later on this list, where it is a boy who transforms into a cat based on kisses. And of course, just like in Fruits Basket, he pops up without his clothes on. So it's really fun and really sweet. It's 6 volumes complete. And again, I would recommend it. Next one is one that I only own digitally at the moment, and that is Beauty and the Beast Girl. This one does have some representation about being blind. Some people have been okay with it, some people haven't, so I'm just going to caveat that right here for you, so that if for some reason you don't like the representation there, you can know you're not alone. It didn't personally bother me, but I know other people it has bothered, which is why I'm letting you know this. This is essentially about this dragon beast girl finding this blind girl in the forest and becoming friends and becoming more. And it's really sweet. I really enjoy it. And then there's another one that's just buried on the other side of the room. So I'm not going to dig it out because it's in a box set. And that is Blackbird. This is a shoujo paranormal romance. He is a tengu, which is kind of like this big black winged crow angel kind of creature who is her fated mate. And it's really interesting, all the politics that play out in this one. So I really, really enjoy it. I do have an entire reading vlog of this one, so I will leave that linked in the corner if you want more thorough details about this one, because it has been a minute since I've read it, but I still don't think badly about it, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on this list. So let's get into the ones that I do physically have just nearby here. And first, we're going to have Three Wolves Mountain. This is by Bora Nauna, I think is how you'd say that. This is a boys love werewolf romance in which we have this werewolf that shows up on this guy's mountain and he's not okay with it, but he's like, we don't have anywhere to go. Can we stay? And he stays forever. It's really sweet and really cute. I buddy read this with Bizarre over at Bizarre Individual, so I will leave him linked down below as well. This is a really sweet and really fun one. This is from Sublime. So yeah, I highly recommend it. These are very spicy. It comes sealed. So do know that. Next on the list here, I have Kakuryou Bed and Breakfast for Spirits. This is a series in which we have a girl who ends up crossing into the land of the yokai, and she finds out that her grandfather has all these debts and is basically indebted to this demon lord, and so she is now going to be his bride. And it's really sweet. It's kind of a foodie manga as well as a paranormal romance. So it kind of scratches a bunch of itches for me. So I went ahead and put it on this list. Next here, I have The Demon Prince of Momochi House, in which we have a young man who's a yokai living in this abandoned house to kind of protect it from other yokai spirits. But what he doesn't know is it actually belongs to this young woman. She comes to collect on it and to live there, and she finds this beautiful demon man living there instead. So it is a really interesting series. It is 16 volumes and complete. So you can you can read the entirety of it, or there is an anime out now, I believe. So you can also watch it if you'd prefer. One that I mentioned earlier was Fruits Basket. This is a very deep paranormal romance in which we're dealing with people that when they come into physical contact with the opposite sex, they transform into the members of the Chinese zodiac. And it is very deeply seated. Like, there's lots of trauma going on here. So if you're looking for something light and fluffy, Fruits Basket isn't necessarily going to be that, even though it does have a lot of light moments to break up the dark moments in it. But at its core, it is very much an emotional story. So do know that going into this one. The next one I have here is Inuyasha. Inuyasha is touted as a fantasy romance for shonen readers, but he's a demon. So I'm going to argue that it's paranormal. So with that said, in this, Inuyasha is a demon that's been trapped on a tree for 50 years. This girl, Kagome, I believe her name's Kagome. Yeah, Kagome. I'm not wrong. She ends up isekai'd, hundreds of years in the past, instead of in a different world, but it's essentially a different world. And she accidentally frees Inuyasha, and it's the adventures of gathering the shards of a particular jewel. I believe it's the Shikon jewel? Yeah, Shikon jewel. It tells you it's been a minute. So essentially it breaks, and their job is to gather it from all around, and there's big bads after them. This is a big, long, epic series. It is complete. I think there are 18 omnibuses, if I remember my count right. And yes, it's a good time. It does do a cycle of a love triangle a little too many times for me, but outside of that, it's really fantastic. The next one I have here is Kaiju Girl Caramelized, which is the sweetest romance about a girl who is a kaiju, or at least part kaiju, and her crush on a boy in her class. It is so sweet. It is so cute. The boy ends up liking the kaiju anyway, and they have this really special bond. It's really sweet. I'm a volume or two behind on this one, so I'll probably be rereading it during Love in the Night just because I want to catch up. Next on the list, I have My Dear Curse Casting Vampiress. This is a series in which we have this man who is a soldier who is supposed to be hunting vampires, and there are only certain ways to kill vampires, and this vampiress has this beef with the vampire people. And so she goes around cursing them and killing them. And so they form a bond and they are off to go fight the bad vampires together. And it's really sweet and really cute. And I really love it. I've got a couple volumes of this to read as well. So I'm very excited to be getting caught up on this one soon. Next here, I do have In the Name of the Mermaid Princess. We have a mermaid princess and she is promised to the prince from the neighboring kingdom. And people like would judge her in her mermaid form in her current country, but she comes to learn from the advisor that is sent by the prince that she would be loved and accepted in his country because there are lots of people like her there. So this is really sweet and really cute. Again, another one I have a couple volumes to catch up on, but it is really, really good. And I would highly recommend the series. It is really just brilliant. Next here, I have The Great Snake's Bride. Now this is classified as horror. So she is promised to this god of the mountain, this snake god, and this is their love story. And he doesn't ever change out of his snake form. He stays a snake. Yes, things happen. They try to make a baby together, all those kinds of things. So I know that's not going to be for everybody, but I'm still putting it on this list because I do think people who like paranormal would probably get along with this as long as they know he's not going to change into a humanoid form. He has yet to, at least. So yes, I would highly recommend checking out this series. I find it very enjoyable to read, and I could understand why people don't like it as well. So I would maybe see if you can sit in a bookstore or check it out from the library and read the first volume and see if you enjoy the vibes. If you don't at that point, then that's fine. But I ended up really enjoying this one. The next one I have here is A Reincarnated Witch Spells Doom. And I love everything about this series. This is a really sweet story about this witch and this boy and how they meet and become friends and maybe more. And it's so, so good. I have a couple of volumes of this one to read as well. So I've read the first few and I'm all in. The art is absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And it's just a good time. Highly, highly, highly recommend this one if you haven't tried it. Next up here, I have Me and My Beast Boss. So in this story, this beastly man, he's a little lion man here on the back, has a hard time finding an assistant who isn't just shaking in their boots working with him because he has this very strong animalistic aura and it's hard for humans to be around. And this is about the woman who does her best and tries her hardest, and he's got a crush on her. So yes, this is a boss and employee kind of romance, but at the same time, it's very sweet. He is not forceful with her at all. And, you know, he's very respectful of her space and her boundaries. And it's just really, really sweet. I really like it. I hope you'll give it a try because it's one of my favorite ongoings right now. Another one that I love and adore is Hi, I'm a Witch and my crush wants me to make a love potion. That pretty much sums things up in the title, but this is really sweet because he works for the kingdom and the love potion is not for him. And they just have the really sweetest romance ever. I love them so much. We just recently got another volume of this one, so I will be getting caught up on the series. I believe there's 4 volumes out right now, and it's just really, really sweet. So if you like a really sweet, witchy romance, I highly recommend it because she is a little witch that lives in a little cottage. She's so cottagecore, it's adorable. And then the last one for this recommendation video is going to be The Vampire and His Pleasant Companions. We just recently got the 5th volume in this series, which I thought it was an apt time to mention it. In this one, we have Albert. He is a man from the US who is a vampire. And what happens is he's in a meat processing plant and he's drinking the blood from there because he doesn't want to drink human blood, and ends up frozen and transported to Japan. And this is his adventures in Japan and the people he meets along the way. It is absolutely adorable. I really love it. It's bonkers. It's banana pants. It's everything you think it's going to be and more. Like, I just really love this. All right, friends. So those are my recommendations for some paranormal romance, manga, webtoons, and comics or graphic novels to check out. If you are here just because you love me, leave me a witch hat down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.